Hello everyone, welcome to Fifth North. I'm Demir, and today I'm going to show you how to install European Spec LED turn signals on a USA Spec 2019 Husqvarna Vitpilen 401. More specifically, I'm only going to show you how to do the front, as I've already done the rear. If you want to see how the rear is done, you can go ahead and click on this video here. This is where I installed the Competition Works fender eliminator kit, and while I was doing that install, I just went ahead and did the rears to kind of save time. So in this video, we're going to focus only on the front. Here's the issue with this. When I've done the rears, I had no problems with hyperflash or anything like that because the fronts were still standard. Once you introduce all four corners to be LED, you're going to either get hyperflash or you might just get a solid light where it doesn't flash at all. In order to get that corrected, there is also a relay that you have to install. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how to install the front LED lights, LED turn signals, and how to fix the hyperflash issue and how to install a relay. So let's go ahead and jump in. So first things first, you want to go ahead and remove this bolt right up here. There's also one on the other side as well. These are both going to be a torque 30, so go ahead and remove them and that'll get you going. Real quick tidbit to add in too before we dive in too far as I'm removing this bolt. The European Spec clips or the plugs that come on the lights do not match up directly to the US Spec plugs. So you actually have to cut off the plugs from the US Spec model and install it and basically mat it up to the European model to make it all plug and play. I'm not going to show you that here. Again, in the previous video where I did the rears, I show you how I basically put the two together, covered it in heat shrink, did all that good stuff to make it work. But long story short, you clip off the plug off the US Spec one, attach it to the European Spec one, and you're good to go. So again, if you have questions on that, check out the previous video. So once you've gone through and removed the bolts, you'll notice that it starts to move a little bit on you, the gauge and the light, but they are still secure as there is two more bolts at the bottom. The bottom bolts can be removed if you come around to where the fork basically meets the frame of the bike. There's two bolts right there, one on each side. These are also going to be a torque 30, so go ahead and remove those. And once you've done that, the entire unit can slide right out. Now, as you're loosening those two bottom bolts, just be careful. My whole unit stayed still, but yours could drop, so just be careful. All right, moving on from there, we go behind the light here, and you'll notice there are 9 different screws that have to be removed. These 9 are actually going to be a torque 20, so they're a little bit smaller. There's the 7 on the main panel and then the 2 on the sides. Really good tip here, wrap your headlight in a soft towel or a rag or something that way you don't scratch it or break it. Last thing you want to do is do turn signals and then crack your headlight. All right, so now that I've done that, let's go ahead and remove these. So you've got the one down here, and I'm not going to show you guys how to remove each individual one because, you know, you've seen me remove one screw, you've seen me remove them all, but long story short, you just kind of go around in circles here and get them all removed. And the biggest thing too is they're not too long, they're pretty short screws, but definitely make sure you have a place to put them so you don't lose one because it'll be hard to put it back together if you're missing screws. Also, good tip here is unplug this big clip. That'll help you drop the headlight and gauge a little bit, giving you a little bit more room to work with. I didn't do this until about halfway through, and then I realized I was making it hard on myself, so I undid the clip. So once all those screws are undone, this whole part should just kind of shimmy gently. You pull it forward and it'll all come apart for you, and once you remove it, you basically are going to be exposing all the wiring looms and everything inside. And as you can see, there's your 2 turn signals, there's the wires coming out of them going into the main connectors. Grab a 12mm wrench, get this bolt undone. Really, it takes like half a turn to get it somewhat loose, and then the rest of it you can do with your fingers. Fair warning, it is a super long bolt and it'll take you a while to get it fully removed, so just sit there and take your time, and then once you do that, you'll see it kind of releases, and now you got to unplug the clip to remove the entire taillight assembly. So you kind of have to dig through this wire mess here. If you follow the wire, you'll notice the clip is kind of set right there. You got to grab it. I use a screwdriver to unclip it because my fingernails just aren't strong enough, or I guess long enough, to get to the clip, so I'll use a little screwdriver there, get the clip to release, and there it is. Once that's done, just pull gently, get the not the main clip, but just the part of the turn signal out, and the whole cable comes right here through this part, and there it is. This is the ugly stock turn signal. All right, now you go to the other side, you do the exact same thing. In this case, I decided to undo the clip first, but either way, it makes no difference. Undo the long bolt, remove the turn signal, and there it is. Another one comes out just like that. And so now you remove the stock ones. Now it's time to work on the replacement. So now you just run the cable through from the new LED turn signal, and you'll notice that the plastic already has the tab pre-made for you, so you can just kind of slide it right in. Don't need to shave off the tab or anything like I had to do on the rears. And now, as you can see, I attached the US Spec plug onto the wire of the LED light. I had to do a nice little heat shrink job here, make it look as pretty as possible, and now it's all fully plug and play. So run the cable through the plastic here and then run it through the long metal bolt, and now you've got pretty much everything lined up as you need it to be. Once you run the cable all the way through, you can run the cable to plug it in, but first thing you want to do is just kind of get this light, just kind of get everything lined up, you know, finger tight, and get it nice and snug, make sure everything clips in properly, and then now you can go ahead and tighten this long bolt. Again, the bolt is pretty long, it takes a while, and then this is really important, be very gentle not to crack anything, so don't over tighten it. All right, so now you want to run the cable through. There's this little plastic clip that holds the cable in place, almost like a little runway, so just run it through there as you guys can see, and then now you want to run it through the zip tie again, back into the little cluster of cables, run it through. Once you've done that, grab it, and then you want to plug it into the actual clip from the bike. So get those two connected, and pretty much that's it. This one is good to go. Now you just got to clean up the cables a little bit. I'll go ahead and get everything tucked in nice and neat, and as you guys can see now, it's all tucked here in the back, looking nice and proper. For the other side, you pretty much do the exact same thing. I won't show it to you again, but you get it plugged in. Everything's already tightened up, you get it nice and tucked in, and that's pretty much it. You've got everything run, it's good to go. All right, so now that the wires are all clean, everything is lined up, you want to give it a quick test, and as you guys can see, it is not flashing. I get one solid light, and that's it, and that's the problem that I was telling you about when you have all 4 LEDs, so I'll definitely have to install a relay. The relay goes right here. There's a little triangle plastic piece. It is right above the slot where you put the key in to release the seat. Go ahead and take out the screw. There's one screw on each side, and it just pops right out once the screws are removed. Once you remove the plastic piece, there are 3 little boxes underneath. It's going to be the back box on the right side if you're sitting on the bike. It's the only box that has the rubber grommet. All you want to do is grab it and pull it forward, and it comes right off of this little clip, and that's pretty much it. And so once the box comes out, you'll notice it's got the little rubber grommet around it. That's how you know it's the right one. Also too, once you remove the rubber grommet, you literally see it says flasher right on the box, so that's how you know you got the right one. Again, here's the rubber grommet. You're not going to be able to reuse that. And again, here, if you look at the box, it says flasher right there. So you want to go ahead and unplug that piece, and then this is the other piece that we're using. This is a replacement relay. The plugs look totally different. They're different in size, but they actually are the same, and they do work. So go ahead and remove the original flasher. We're going to go ahead and plug in this new relay right here. Again, just make sure it lines up, plug it right in, and I'll put a link in the description for the relay. You slide it right in there. I actually zip tied it. There was no really other way to make it stay, so I just zip tied it back to that metal bracket that used to be there. So now you go back to the front, and you want to go ahead and start tightening things back up. So I plugged in the main big plug. I'm now going through and putting in all the screws back. Just make sure that A, you don't crack anything by over tightening it, and then B, make sure you're not pinching any wires as you're tightening things up. The last thing you want to do is pinch a wire and break something, so just make sure everything's nice and tucked in. Go ahead and remove the towel off the tail light. That way it's a little bit easier to work on. And now all you have to do is, once you put the 9 screws back in, don't forget the side ones. I always forget about those. Now you want to go ahead and put in the main 2 screws up top. Go ahead and line everything up, and don't forget these screws are kind of long, so take your time, get them nice and proper, get them in there. I kind of like to do all 4 screws at the same time and don't over tighten them, and then kind of go back and tighten them once I got everything lined up and level. So you got the 2 on top on each side, and then of course you've got the 2 on the bottom on the back side. So get everything nice and tight, and now your gauge cluster and your headlight should be back in the right spot. Next, you want to replace that rubber plastic piece, or triangular plastic piece. Go ahead and tighten up both screws, like I said, 1 on each side. That's going to cover up that relay, and you're good to go. First thing to check, turn the ignition. Do you have a headlight? Yes, you do. That tells you did the right thing, that no wires are missing. Next, you want to check the gauge cluster. If the gauge cluster is showing, you're good to go. And the final test, let's check the turn signals. So we're going to hit one of them. And there it is. It's actually flashing, not hyper or anything, which is perfect. Let's check the other one. And it looks like the other one is doing just fine too, so it looks like we got it nice and right. All right, everybody, so that's pretty much it. Nice and fast paced, got the install done. It honestly sounds a lot more complicated than it is. Really not too hard of an install if you follow these steps. You can go ahead and swap them out and get yourself a nice LED setup to replace the ugly stock US version of the turn signals. If you guys found this video helpful, hit the like button for me, and if you're not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button as well, hit the notification bell. It does help me out quite a bit. I hope everybody has a great night or day depending on where you are in the world, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.